instead where you can actually flesh out discussions and actually
Yeah,
figure out,
exactly.
what's going on. And I think that's why podcasts are doing well.
Yeah. Slow down and don't try to rush the conversation. Yeah.
Yeah, well, you'd be surprised how many people that, they'll do this online. And I'm like, you don't even know what you're talking about. This makes no sense. How about you message me privately and then we jump on a call and then within 5 minutes, they're like, oh, I guess I am an idiot. Like, I know you are.
Exactly.
You should have thought of that before you started going like this.
Yeah.
That's people.
I know. So what's up, man? Let's do it. Let's start.
Yeah, man. How are you doing? Everything, you guys are now getting back so somewhat into everything. How's that transition going for you?
Well, it wasn't so bad after the first wave of coronavirus when we came back. People were coming back, people were excited. And then so now that cases are rising again, everyone's getting scared again. So we're kind of struggling to keep our enrollment up at our gymnastics center. And so as you know, but probably not your listeners, we're the biggest gymnastics center in Florida. Before the coronavirus, we had probably 2,000 students, and almost all of them did twice a week, so it's like 5,000 enrollments. And once the coronavirus hit, we moved everybody online, so that worked. And then we started getting everybody back. We're about 30-40% back, and then now the numbers are dwindling again to the second wave of coronavirus. So with the gym, we're surviving, barely. With our software, we're doing okay because a lot of our students are online doing training at home through My Skill Chart. So that's our current status.
Okay, that's not bad. At least you have an ability to kind of shift focus to an online medium in these kind of tough times.
Exactly. It's a saving grace of having two businesses that are different. Because if I had two gymnastics centers, I would just be double in trouble, But having two different businesses that serve totally different purposes in the same industry, basically, but it allows you to, when one's struggling, the other one can lift them up, And it happened both ways. Sometimes our software lifted up our gym, and sometimes our gym lifted up our software. So,
yeah, and it makes a lot of sense. I think a lot of gyms should start thinking about content as a real revenue stream. And it's still theoretically quite new. But even though it's been around for 20 years, there's still a majority of people just don't appreciate what social content really is and understand that diversification, like everything's going to live online eventually. So it's the people that kind of jump in right now. The way I look at it is like, okay, there's a new world online. We'll call it social media for lack of a better term. And there's real estate on social media that people have not bought yet. There's tons of it because you can literally invent, instead of buying a home where there's a limited amount of land, you can buy a property on social media and make that thing whatever you want. And the value just goes up as more people get online. So it's like housing, but without the limitations of a limited sized earth. And that's a lot of people don't get it.
The real estate online is real estate of attention, real estate of eyeballs, real estate of views and watch time. And that real estate is real because there is a finite number to it, because 9 billion people on this planet, they can only watch things on social media, let's say 8 hours a day. I mean, that's a lot, but probably, I don't know the statistic on that, but probably.
Some people.
Yeah, some people, at least a couple of hours for every person somehow, some way. But so that real estate does exist. It's just infinitely larger than real estate that's habitable land. You know what I mean? So, but it is real. I love that analogy. I never heard that analogy before, and I instantly like it. I love it.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just the kind of language I use when I talk to all these different brands and stuff like that. And, we literally 90% of our stuff, I'd say 100% of our business is actually online, even though we use that to then fuel live events that are actually on earth, So, but I look at it like, where is all the leads coming from? Where is our business actually originating from? And that is legitimately social media. From there, we then direct our traffic to different projects that we have, all of them being slightly different and diversified, like what you're talking about earlier, where, we have people that work with standalone gyms, but then we have like a content team. This content team, we're launching like 5 projects on Monday. I was just talking to them, and we have all these different projects going on, and these are paid projects for the kids, for us, for the brands, for everybody, and all we're going to do is coordinate all that sort of stuff. So I think the gymnastics gyms of the 21st century really need to realize that You know, it's not a gym with a bunch of kids in leotards doing flips, and then if you get one good one, you can take them out of the gym and parade them around. It's not what the future of gymnastics is going to be. It's going to be the people that can monetize it online through some kind of, whether it's my skills chart, which I love, by the way, is very good, and all the other stuff, or is it going to be just pure content? Maybe you're going to start seeing gyms, and at least in my world, you would start to see gyms that would now think of their athletes as content creators. Not just athletes. That's so linear and quite frankly useless, because you got to commit 15 years to get nothing out of it. And maybe you get, you know, to the top level. So that's a 15-year investment that most kids and people are really not willing to make anymore, right? So I would start looking at them as content generators. So when you get into the gym, here's a content sheet for the day of things that we want to shoot, but also the skills we want to learn. And you kind of balance these out in a creative but more progressive way, and you kind of hit both birds, you know?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. And you hit it right in the head. And that's the thing, like there's a few points that I want to grab there. Number one, yes, your recreational students can be a huge marketing tool. Particular little Susie or little Johnny, it doesn't have to be the competitive high level gymnast. The old style was, if you even look at logos of gyms that have been around for 30, 40 years or whatever, even 20 years, their logos, it has like their gym's logo has like a super competitive gymnast painted or drawn out, you know, like 1980s, 90s style. And it's like their name is like Extreme Gymnastics or Unlimited Gymnastics, some like very like powerful name. It's really not the way we want to go anymore. If we want to have a successful sport, we need to target just the average little Susie that wants to do gymnastics on Saturdays. And showing little Susie's journey and putting on social media how happy she is, interviewing her, saying, what's your favorite skill? What's your favorite thing about gymnastics? What do you love about your coach? And posting that on social media is really going to get so much more traction. And a lot of gyms, they don't know, they digital marketing, social media marketing, that's a world that they think is a really gray, mystical, magical world that they don't know anything about. But they do know a lot about it, because a lot of gym owners are on Facebook and Instagram themselves. They just need to treat their Facebook and Instagram just like they treat their business. They need to treat their business Facebook and Instagram just like they treat their personal. They know plenty about it. They just got to start doing it and being active and being engaging, because that's the new way. And on the other point that I want to grab from what you're saying is making money online too for gym owners. Now, you can get a lot of students from posting things on social media, having a click funnel process on your website, but just to sell your gymnastics classes, but we're going to start selling other things. Local gyms should have their own stores to sell leotards and accessories. Local gyms could start selling little booklets and activity booklets. And also they can have content that maybe it gets big enough they can get ad revenue from it. That's really hard to do. But the thing is, there's still things they can sell and do in the gymnastics industry. And so that's one big thing that I'm trying to get all of our gymnastics industry to start doing, is just to start spreading the awareness of the sport itself. And not just focusing on either just your club alone or your competitive gymnast, but spreading the love of gymnastics from the very beginning. Every gymnast should do gymnastics at least once in their life. So recreational gymnastics is something that we should really promote.
Yeah, I agree 100%. And I like your idea about the idea is it's not about the club. And this is where my perspective, I've been in this sport for literally my entire life, for 25 years, ever since I came to Canada. And all I see really when I want to be as objective as possible is basically everyone self-promoting themselves to themselves with the people that are already there. Okay, well, that's not going to increase your sales, guys. No one cares, because they're already there. They've already bought your product or service or bought into it, or whatever word you want to use. The reality, if you want new people, you got to go find the people that don't already like what you're doing. And this is where I think the entire gymnastics culture is a little too insulated. They're not thinking, how do I reach brands outside of my industry to expand? They're only looking at, patting themselves on the back or each other on the back, but in the same sort of closed system. We have the same problem with the freestyle guys. Like, this is not freestyle versus traditional. A lot of people just have this issue where they get so consumed. They don't really think, but what does the brand want? Like, I'm talking to these guys right now. Okay, well, do you want the flashy edits? Great, because that's what we do with all our G-Tramp stuff. I'm like, no, I don't want that. First of all, I don't like it, actually. But also, the brand doesn't like it. The brand is not going to sell shoes because of your flashy thing that only your community knows about. They want to see you shoot content for an audience that doesn't know who you are and introduce it to them. And I think that's the type of content that gymnastics gyms should really be trying to make.
Exactly, because if you look at their social media, like you go to your average gym, the only things that are posted on there is medals, gymnasts standing on the podiums, and then maybe some new skills. But usually it's always competition. So you're constantly saying competition photos, competition photos. And then when it's off season, there's like nothing. There's like silence on social media. Maybe they'll post a little flyer that says open gym this Friday, you know, but that's about it. But yeah.
I don't like that. I hate when the gyms do that, because I look and I go through all their Instagrams, and the only thing they can come up with social media is a discount offer to the people that are already paying. That doesn't even make sense. You know, you need to tell a story. You need to, if you have a community of 2,000 people in your gym, and you figure out a way to tell a Harry Potter style story, so that complex and dedicated with your community, that then gets them out into new communities. No one cares about what you're doing, what medal you got. The only people that care are the people that got the medal, and they already got it. So you're screwing yourself twice. You know what I mean? You need to change and tell a story that everyone else wants to hear, not just patting yourself on the back.
Exactly. And it's difficult to do because, you know, club owners, a lot of times they're running around like a chicken with their head cut off, trying to run their business. And they're the sole owner, they're the coach, they're the admin person, they're the sales marketer, they're everything, they're the janitor. So optimizing things in quality control it's like the top of like Maslow's hierarchy to get to that level of transcendence, to where you can start doing that major quality stuff, is a huge feat that many gym owners will never get to. So it's kind of like a staircase. If they can start learning how to get their gym to be more organized, to be more well managed, to have systems of management instead of them just being the manager of everything, then they could start getting to this higher level of running your company, of being more of your own brand ambassador, and learning how to create a kind of environment or culture that you've always wanted in your business. So it's hard. And then sometimes it makes gym owners more frustrated, because like, oh, I know I should be doing that kind of marketing. I know I should be more active in social media. I know I should be doing this, but I just can't never get there. So it's like, stop telling me, you know?
Yeah.
So
It's
that's kind of,
yeah, it's the scaling. It's getting, it's thinking of your athletes as employees. Like, we have tons of athletes in our association, and we have a couple thousand competitors just every season, never mind all the other people that are in it. But I don't look at them as athletes that just pay ticket sales. I look at them as, okay, I'm going to get you to help build this community. So we have literally like 50 to 100 different content guys out there building right now, and they're getting paid. I go to an athlete and say, hey, you know, you're 12 years old. I'll throw you $150 to help shoot this video for this brand, or you get a percentage of sales for our new merch line. Why can't you activate the kids? That gets the kids to want to be in. They're actually building. Like, people think, oh, freestyle, that's all just whatever. It's like, no, the kids are building this. This isn't just top down from brands, right? This is, the kids are out there hustling and getting sponsors and getting this and getting that. Why can't you turn your club, even if it's a small little club, why can't you give roles? You know, like the gym clubs, I don't know if you ever did this, but back in the day, you had to do demos at like malls and stuff, and you had to do volunteer hours every year and stuff like that. Well, screw that. Instead, put them to work and make content and make sales and measure the sales and make them real. Because then by the time they get to 16, 17, 18 years old and they want a full-time job, they've already proven to you that they can do it, and they want to do it, and they've learned. So you're getting free education, really, free employment, and they're already paying you before you have to pay them. Get out of here. Why wouldn't you do that?
Well, there's a few roadblocks. Number one, you're doing trampoline freestyle kind of like how skateboarders did it, where there's a lot of like being sponsored by brands and things like that. But with gymnastics, if you're sponsored for doing gymnastics, if you get paid for doing gymnastics, you're not going to be eligible for NCAA.
That's why I know.
So with gymnastics, a lot of the main goals for kids, sure, they like to become elite and try to become a world champion or get to the Olympics one day, but in reality, their real goal is to get into NCAA with a scholarship. The lofty one is to be an Olympian. The more realistic is NCAA, and that's still hard. So they're always just being extra careful. Like, they don't want to break a silly rule that's going to cause them to lose their eligibility to have a scholarship.
Oh, I understand, but there's lots of workarounds, you know, like the club itself can just be the hub. You can make shell companies. You can do a million things like that. To say that, oh, well, because of this one person made this one law over here, therefore I'm screwed for the rest of my life, that is a really bad excuse. I'm sorry, I don't believe that. There's a workaround, and could be, and you're 100% correct, by the way. That's literally why I started leaving Team Canada. I was like, I'm out. Like, you guys aren't paying me. I'm not getting anything out of it. What's the value? Where's my return on investment? And then when they said you should just do it for free, I said, nope. And I think the reality is that gymnastics as a whole needs to realize that most kids are like me. Most kids just want to get paid. And the only people that are in gymnastics in the older ages are ones who are getting paid. So to say that they should get paid, but then you should now give your money away too, or you're a hypocrite, right? So at the end of the day, you got to get to the basic biology that says kids should get paid faster, earlier, sooner. Like the women's basketball and NBA, the WNBA, they're now signing new deals right now where they're going to go up to $500,000 salaries and stuff like that. So they're fighting for more money. We need to start paying the athletes more at an earlier rate, little bits, not like huge boatloads, but little stuff that shows them that they're valued, not just expected to basically work for free and jump for free. You know what I mean? And that's, if we don't get over that hurdle, I don't see gymnastics ever really taking that next step.
Yeah, there has to be some type of professionalism. The reason why young kids want to be football players is because not only is it super popular sport and all their role models are quarterbacks and running backs and so on and so forth, but also because they want to get rich. A lot of kids, I know when I was a child, I always wanted to become rich. I didn't necessarily want money when I was a child. Like, I didn't want money then. I just wanted to be an adult that was financially successful. And so a lot of kids have that same dream, especially boys. And so they're like, look, if I'm going to get rich from doing a sport that I love, I'm going to pick football because that's most likely that I'll get rich, or basketball. They're not going to pick gymnastics because you're not going to get rich. Our greatest Olympians are not rich, especially in the men's side. Paul Hamm, was the latest gold medalist. He's not necessarily swimming in dough from being a gold medalist in the Olympics. Kurt Thomas was one of the most successful gymnasts ever. I mean, he became financially successful because of his gymnastics center, his competitions, but not because of his actual athleticism. So if we want to make men's gymnastics specifically to become a super popular sport like it used to be in the 70s and some, there has to be some type of professionalism. Going back to Kurt Thomas, he got kicked out of the 1984 Olympics because he got paid to do a SeaWorld event. He did some diving and tumbling at a SeaWorld event in 1980 something. And since he got paid for it, it's probably like $200 or something. You know what I mean? He was kicked out of the Olympic team in 1984. And so that kind of they just then changed the rules a little bit, but they're really not professionals. And unless there's like a severe change, which is going to be very difficult to do, we have to make, if you are one of the most top athletes in the world, and gymnasts are more athletic than any other sport on this planet. They're the most athletic people on the sport in every single way. And they don't get paid a fraction of what these professional athletes in sports like soccer, football, and basketball get paid.
Yeah, and I'm sure the higher ups will come up with a million reasons why this and why that. Yeah. But the reality is that, well, I said, that's not an answer for me. Whatever excuse you're going to come up with, I'm going to go make my own thing. And we did. And these kids are getting more money than anything I got paid. And after 15 years of the sport, when you look at that objectively, it can be done. It just needs to want to be done. And you're going to get into a whole lot of politics with that one, because that's the only reason it even got that way in the first place. The old guards just want to keep their money. And as soon as it changes, they know that they're going to have to exit their investment. I get that. Yeah. But sorry, that's the way it works. So either you're going to be selfish and not pass it along to the kids and take your royalties, but, a 5% royalty, not I'm going to block everyone from ever achieving anything so that I can keep it to myself. That's what the kids feel is happening. When I talk to them, that's what they say about gymnastics. Now, I've experienced that as well, but I also know that you can change. We have the Freestyle Trampoline Association. We have all the content teams. We run just the way the USAG does, and Gym Can and all the other federations. We literally have everything. The educational programs, the sponsorship, the live events, the ticket sales, the sponsors, blah, 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 blah. So it can be done. And this is where you might start seeing other people that they've already thought about it, is bringing up and starting a whole new USAG, a whole new federation, all this. Because sometimes the only way to fix it is to restart from scratch. And,
reformations do work. So like, I think like that's what we're trying to do with National Gymnastics Curriculum. We're not necessarily trying to start making it professional sport. That's not our aim right now because we feel like it's too big of a feat to start attacking first. So what we're trying to do first is create more of a accessible and unified standardized training courses for both recreational and competitive. Right now, you have to go to Facebook groups to find it. You have to go, you have to look up someone that posted some drill or something like that. You can't really have a unified place to learn how to coach gymnastics from scratch. So if I was a young kid that needed a job and there's a local gym, never did gymnastics in my life, I should be able to take a course, become certified, and become a recreational coach. That doesn't exist right now. It's only people in the sport, nothing without the sport. So we want to change that with National Gymnastics Curriculum. We're launching it in August. And the second thing that we want to change with National Gymnastics Curriculum is bringing awareness to the public at large. So like right now, the only part of gymnastics that's popular is the most negative thing possible. The incident with Larry Nassar via the Athlete A movie that came out. So USAG is under attack. Obviously, everybody involved with the situation, whether it's legit or not legit, doesn't matter. I'm just saying that's all the focus of gymnastics right now, the negative. And even before that, the only focus on gymnastics when it comes to the public at large was the one greatest gymnast of all time, the female gymnast of all time, which was Simone Biles, most decorated gymnast of all time. And before that was Gabby Douglas. They only focus on these one gymnasts. They only focus on this one person. They don't fall in love of the sport, the public at large I'm talking about. They don't fall in love with the sport. Didn't always used to be like that. There's movies that came out in the 80s that had Olympic gymnasts, Mitch Gaylord, Kurt Thomas. The sport of gymnastics was actually used to be extremely popular, but now it's only popular every 4 years at the Olympics. It should be popular year round. We should be looking up to the world championships. The public at large should be like, oh darn, the world championship is coming up. Everyone get all excited. And how good would that be for club owners, getting all those new enrollments because the world championships hyped everybody up again. So the only way to do that is actually not that hard. We need more media. We need more content, like either through social media or more Netflix series. Let's get a governing body that has the funds to create really good movies on heroes in our sport. Make people like our current team as heroes in our sport, leaders in our sport, so kids can look up to our guys and be like, wow, look at that guy fly over the high bar, doing a casino or something like that. Or even all aspects of gymnastics, tramp and tumble as well. We got to glorify these people. We don't really do that. So if that changes and we have media just for the public, the sport's going to grow. When the sport grows, then the cream of the crop is only going to be better. Because if you have the cream of the crop of 100 kids, they're going to be pretty good. But if you have a cream of the crop of 1 million kids, you're going to get really good cream of the crop. You know what I mean? You know what I'm saying? So that's what China does. And that's why China has the best gymnasts in the world. Because their cream of the crop, they have millions of gymnasts to choose from. So they pick 10 out of those millions of children. We pick 10 out of 70,000 over a span of a decade. You know what I'm saying? Big difference.
Yeah, there's not the numbers. And we got a lot of criticism when way back in the day we said, hey, guys, we should team up with all the trampoline parks. They're going to bring another 500 million users to trampoline that you can feed off of. And everyone just said, no, that's dangerous. They're our competition. And in my head, I'm like, how are they your competition? Those are your people that are going to save your sport, as far as I could tell. And I based on the TV producers we're talking to, they are literally saving the sport. Like, we're talking to TV producers right now about shows, and they literally are saying, well, I don't care about artistic gymnastics. I just need to see the big numbers. So when I pull out, oh, well, there's only maybe 5 to 10 million gymnasts around the world, they say, well, that's a waste of my time. I say, hey, there's 500 million people jumping in trampoline parks. Maybe we make a show about that. They say, oh, okay, I'm going to talk to so-and-so about that. And they get really a lot more excited when they just see the numbers. And this is where I think gymnastics, it has to get to the media. I'm with you 100%, but I don't think they're ready to get to the media. They don't even know what they're promoting. Like, when you ask a gymnast, what is your sport? If you summed up gymnastics in one word or one sentence, what is it? Get everyone to agree. Have some voting system. Do that. Figure out what your sport actually is and what the highlight is and why people should care about it, and make a big campaign like what you're saying about that. But you just need to start by just getting everyone to at least agree on what gymnastics is actually all about and what direction they want to go. Because every time I say, not me, but like anytime I see just in the regular chatter groups, people, oh, well, you should do this, this, and this. They're all having all these ideas, but no one does anything. And then they end up just kind of battling each other, and they tend to get very negative towards each other. And I don't know why. And I think they need to get around that negativity towards each other first. And these are conversations when I'm not even involved in them. Like, I'm just going through Facebook, and most of the time I'm scrolling through and I'm just like, what? You guys are attacking this guy and this guy's attacking you, and you're calling him a bigot and you're calling him a racist. You guys are in the same group. Why are you guys fighting so much?
I don't think that's a gymnastics issue. I think that's a whole country issue right now, but
yeah, well, it does. I will say this. We travel around the world. I will say America, I don't know what's with America, but they seem to be the ones that are so critical of everything. So when you say, hey, maybe we can talk to the trampoline parks and make a deal with them and put a coaching course into them. You care about safety, right? Well, go help them. No. I care. So I had this one idiot guy tell me, and I have this in writing, that's how stupid this guy is. He's that when I go to trampoline parks, they call me up to help them. And because I care so much about safety, I say no. And this is a quote. And I'm just like, this is the problem. It has nothing to do with the type of media. That'll come later. It's that type of mentality that seems to be seeping throughout gymnastics. That means they just never get out of their own they'll never get out of their own way, I guess, if I had to sum it up. And that to me is frustrating. That's why I left. I just like, guys, I'm not dealing with you people. I'll give you an update once a week about this and that, but I'm not dealing with your industry. It's not the way not the way we deal with our kids. Our kids are completely different. Our brands are different. We treat them differently, and they're way more positive, and the media knows that, and we stay away from all this negative chatter. Once we get there with gymnastics, traditional gymnastics, I think then we can open up, like we were talking about, Netflix or this or that.
Yeah, there definitely needs to be some unification and leadership within our tight industry. And there's not that many clubs. I mean, there's only like 4,000 clubs in the country, gymnastics clubs. And I think 3,000 of them are part of USAG. So I actually don't really know the full numbers, but it's something around there. And it's really small. I mean, that's tiny. Like, if we compare it to dance or martial arts, there is in the 40, 50,000, 80,000 clubs, you know, when you combine them. It's just astronomically bigger. And so I'm not saying we need to get bigger, we need more clubs, but we just need to unify better, because those sports, other sports outside of other artistic class-based activity sports like dance, cheer, and martial arts, they're totally beating the gymnastics industry on every level. They have more following. They have more people that love the sport. They have more people that are taking the sport. They have more variations of the sport. They have more media on the sport. And they're just multi-billion-dollar industries, way more than the gymnastics industry. So, and what they do, right, is they think like all the business, not all of them, of course, but a lot of the dance studio owners, a lot of the cheer owners, and a lot of the martial arts dojo owners, they think like business people. They think like entrepreneurs. They don't just think like the technician. So the technician being the coach or the, whatever. So a lot of times these gym owners are just coaches. So they just think about how they can be great coaches, and that's it. But they forget the managerial side, and they can forget the entrepreneurial side, which all three makes the businessman a businesswoman. So like we need to make our gymnastics community more focused on becoming successful, just successful at all levels, spreading awareness of the sport, creating great gymnasts, creating quality service for the average kid that just wants to do gymnastics once in their life, which every gymnast should. And if we can all unify on that concept, we can start catching up with people like dance and martial arts. Not that there are competitors necessarily. We don't think them as our enemies, but just this, hey, why can't we be as good as them? Why can't we be as big as them? We can't. We just gotta do it. We gotta push ourselves.
Yeah, it's that unification. I think it's like a hen house where everyone's just running in a small little area, but no one really has any direction or future plan. They don't ask the tougher questions like, well, what happens if like parkour just got put in? Don't you think that should be some signaling of, there's something wrong here? The IOC is already kind of back on its heels for gymnastics. I would be so friggin' scared if I got that email one day and I was the FIG. I would have I would have, I don't know what I would have done. I would have freaked out because I know where that could go. And they're already kind of playing that game. And I don't believe trampoline in its current state will be in the Olympics very long. Especially it's so
Trampoline is
new.
really dying. Yeah.
Yeah,
Trampoline
I don't.
tumbles.
No,
I don't
and people say, "Oh, well, why don't people like it?" And I'm like, "What do you mean, why they don't like it? Just think objectively, like you're a business person. A small group of people all looking the same, wearing the same thing with minor colors, not showing any expression or having any storyline besides the little 10 points of deduction here and there that no one understands unless you're already doing the sport.
Right.
How is that going to sell? You can't
Correct.
sell it. Sorry, it's marketing, and they don't understand marketing. People look at me and say, "Oh, well, Greg, you do a lot of social media." I'm like, "Well, yeah, that's why we do that, because being a coach is useless. You have to have the other two pieces, like you said. Just being a technician means you're always going to be an employee of somebody else that thinks bigger. And if you want to be that person that thinks big and gets all that, then you have to learn that stuff. And you can learn it. We teach our kids all the time. I have 8-year-old kids. I have an educational program for these guys we do online that's a full content creation program. And they are 8 years old. And we have webinars and we have discussions every single day, talking to them and giving them plans and projects. Why can't you do that in gymnastics? Why are these kids growing up just so linear about the medals, not learning anything really about the actual sport and the business and the strategy and stuff? These are the people that are going to carry your legacy on, and you're not teaching them anything. Wow, that's scary. That's bad business. That's bad leadership, bad business.
That's great. So you're really teaching each freestyle students to have their own personal branding and everything.
Yeah. They have their own merch lines. We invest in the first round, and then the profits get recycled back to them, and they're their own business owner. We team them up with brands. The brands pay us. They pay them. We become their agent, their union, their ACTRA or AFTRA if you do stunt work. We're literally that, and we create all their events for them so that we then create a call to action for the brands to come in to then pay them on the back end as well. So we're creating jobs for these kids, and these kids are getting paid like at 12 years old and stuff like that, and they're getting paid to fly around the country to shoot content with some energy drink company or this or that. And we have like at least 10 projects on the go all the time.
How many athletes are these? How many athletes are we talking that you guys have?
I personally deal with, or in the whole community?
In the Freestyle Association?
In Freestyle Association, we have about 10,000 kids, right? But we have about 2,000 competitors every year. And I deal with about 200 of those kids on a regular weekly basis to make content and teach them how to not suck at doing what they do. It's education of how to do trampoline, education on how to not die if you're going to go outside and do some stunt, how to get the TV contracts, how to get on America's Got Talent. We're working with France's Got Talent and Netherlands Got Talent with 2 different groups right now as we speak to make them put on the show. But I'm teaching them, when you get to the show, here's the way you write the contract. They're going to try to screw you because it's how TV people are. So you make sure you do this instead. And they're, oh, thank God, Greg, you got me. And we edit their contracts. We teach them how to do it though. So it's not just me doing it for them, which is a bad move, right? It's us teaching them how to teach themselves, and then they pass along and they become effectively employees. So you could look at, like, we have 200 employees around the world, all feeding to brands in different markets and all that. And these are like our army, like our wolves of Wall Street. These are the guys we're pushing out there and teaching them how to make money, basically.
Yeah, it's very extreme sport style. Because I used to be a pretty good skateboarder, and I was always chasing sponsorships, and I did get involved in some sponsorships with Element at one time. And so they sent me some stuff, but it reminds me a lot of that culture of just personal branding and getting sponsorships and things like that. It makes a lot of sense. How do these kids, what trampolines do they use? They just use the good old fashioned backyard trampolines, or where did they get these Aussie beds and stuff to do like the quads and so on and so forth?
It's a big question. So there's all these garden trampoline manufacturers have now started, since we kind of built this thing, they started coming out with these high performance trampolines, which are, let's say, a heavy duty version of what you find at Walmart. So a lot of people look at, it's G-Tramp, and they think Walmart trampoline, but that's not even the case. That's not even close to the case. These kids would break a Walmart trampoline in half in one bounce, right? So they have these high performance ones, and we deal with all the brands. So the brands actually give us a structure to the community, and we just coordinate through it, right? But then you have Eurotramp. Eurotramp has a freestyle sector. I don't know if people know that. You know that Eurotramp builds trampoline parks too, right? So there's one for all the critics that think that their only way is this way. Your own trampoline Olympic provider has now jumped on freestyle. So, think about that, and so they're selling trampolines all over the world. So these kids have trampolines in their backyards from Eurotramp. They have ones from North, Berg, Alley-oop, blah, blah, blah. The list goes on. And basically they just do what they do. But the thing is, it's not about trampoline. And we're teaching them is that G-Tramp or freestyle trampoline, I think is a better word. I hate the word G-Tramp, but they went for it. So whatever. And it has to expand out there. So like right now we're working on a content deal with some guys in the UK, and they have power stilts. I don't know if you know what power stilts are, but they're like pogos for your legs.
Yeah, yeah.
Right? And you bounce and they can get like 10, 15 feet in the air. So, but instead of doing G-Tramp, we're going to have a pogo, this power stilt guy, do it with them while they're jumping, and they kind of rotate and they try it different ways. And we're getting out of the industry. You can keep your core, like your anchoring point, but then the farther you can reach to new markets, that's what we're teaching them to do.
Wow, that's fantastic. That's amazing. And how many years ago did you start this?
Well, technically I started when I was 5 and I came to Canada and started my life. My entire life has been.
No, the Freestyle Association. I know you've been entire life.
Yeah. Well, the Freestyle Association, again, is an amalgamation of just my thoughts and my experiences and what I've learned. So it's been around realistically for only about 4 years. This is our 4th season right now. And in 4 years, we've had multiple documentaries made on national televisions, like in France and Netherlands and stuff like that. We've got these kids. We've raised about $500,000 for these kids, and it goes right back to them. You guys got to understand. People think that I'm just some capitalist guy, but no, everyone knows in the community, the money goes right back, and we reinvest every penny that we make, because that's, well, minus expenses and stuff like that. But the reality is it's literally for the community, and they build the community, right? So for 4 years, they have been building it. We just kind of guide their hand a little bit, make sure that they don't do something really stupid, and you can't save everybody, but we've been able to literally take random losers in a backyard, to be legitimately frank, and put them into what is legitimately called a sport that was born online through New York Times and is getting on Ellen DeGeneres. These kids are getting onto Steve Harvey. These kids are getting out there, and we're pushing that every single day, and that's what it takes.
That's awesome, and it's working. It's unbelievable. You did such a fantastic job with it. It's unbelievable.
Well, the thing to me, and it's not like, I thank you for the compliment, but for me, it's almost like just common sense. Why hasn't someone done this before? It's not really rocket science. It's, hey, let's go make a better structure that the kids actually enjoy, that they actually design, that they actually want to do, and the ones that the brands actually want to pay for, and then let's start from there, right? So we started with some very simple assumptions, and the first question the kids asked us at our very first event up in Sweden way back in the day was, how do I make money flipping? Okay. And that's it. And that told us where they want to go. So we're taking them there.
Now, do you feel like you're killing the artistic side of it?
Killing like doing good, or killing as in we're destroying it?
Destroying it. Yeah.
No, I don't think so. These kids didn't want to do artistic anyway. There is, I will say this, there is a big handful of them that's tried it for a couple of days and said it's too oppressive, so let me do G-Tramp instead. There is a huge handful, but they wouldn't have lasted in artistic anyway. They would have probably just gone to something else, soccer, hockey, whatever it is. So I don't feel I'm killing it in any way. Half of our business is traditional. Like, we are going to do GT Games, which is a freestyle event, at Tumble Tech, which is a traditional USAG certified gym, right? So we have a lot of traditional coaches that are realizing that they need to think outside the box, and they're kind of looking to us to kind of guide them a little bit, because they're, like you said, they don't necessarily know all of that stuff, but we do. And we help them do that. So half of our business is traditional. And if we lost artistic gymnastics, quite frankly, it wouldn't change what we do. We would still be growing and going faster and faster and faster, but we are not, I don't think we're hurting gymnastics, because literally it's a different mentality of kids we're dealing with that wouldn't have lasted in that system anyway. So I don't think there's effect.
Kind of like ninja and parkour programs, gymnastics.
Yes.
We use it to funnel them into the team. So like, you take, as long as you're doing it, we take ninja students, all right, ninja athletes from our Ninja Kidz program, and then we funnel them into our competitive program for gymnastics. And so it works, but you have to do it though. If you don't do it, they're just going to stay in ninja forever or until they quit. So, so yeah, it's just, you have to stay focused. Like for my goal, my whole life goal is to make artistic gymnastics great again, for pardon the pun. But that's what I really want to do. So like, I do look out for these things. I say, hey, is parkour, ninja, freestyle tramp, all this stuff going, or the trampoline parks, is it going to hurt us or make us greater? And it just depends on what we want. If we wanted to make it us greater, we can. If we wanted to hurt us, we can. We just have to make that decision on how we react. So we're not going to be able to control the circumstances. You know, the circumstances is people are evolving the sport of gymnastics like sports into other things, into more freestyle, especially with ninja and stuff like that. And we need to embrace it, but with the goal of still growing our competitive stuff. And going back to what you're saying about the why people don't like competitive tramp or artistic gymnastics, it one problem is the scoring. Now, I think when it going back to what you're saying, the uniforms, you may be onto something. I know what you mean by the flair of it, and everyone had their own flair. But the thing is, but the other sports, NBA, NFL, they all wear the same thing. They just have a different number on their back. And so I think we can still be okay with having teams wear the team uniform, just have their own flair, of course. And I think the men's started doing that with their hair, which I'm not too fond of. And they had their own tattoos and stuff like men's gymnastics. But the scoring is a big problem. The scoring, I really do think, is a big problem, because even people in the sport don't understand it anymore, because now we have open scoring. And I believe Tramp does too. So you have this open scoring where you get a 15, you get a 14.7, you get a 16.2, you get a 13.1. No one knows what that means. Nobody has any idea. I've been in the sport my entire life, and I'm up to date with how the code works, and I still get confused because it's all relative, which makes sense if you want a real why they do it makes perfect sense. I completely understand why they do it, because it's really, truly fair. Because before, the history was, I can do a 10-0 routine with like revolutionary skills, with doing moves that never been done before. A perfect example is 2004 was it 2004? I think it was, with Alexei Nemov and Paul Hamm on a high bar. Alexei Nemov went first, and it was between them two to win the Olympics that year. Alexei Nemov did a routine. It was beautiful, and he did skills that were out of this world. Layout Tkachev, straddle Tkachev, pike Tkachev. He did, all the different type of Rybalko moves. He did Kovacs. He did everything. He did double-double and took one little step on his double-double layout. And he got his score, 9.875. I don't know what it was. It was something like that. Paul Hamm does basically half of what Alexei Nemov does. He does half of it. I think he only, can forgive me if I remember it wrong, but he did like maybe only 2 connections of release moves. He didn't do any Kovacs, and he did a full-in back out, a full-in double layout off bars. Stuck it, though. Stuck it. Beat Alexei Nemov, and won the Olympics. Yeah. And so then everyone was saying, okay, this is not really fair. Just because Paul Hamm stuck his landing made him win the Olympics? No. Alexei Nemov's routine was obviously better. So we need to do something, because the code, Paul Hamm won because he played the system, which is fine. I'm not blaming him. He's one of my favorite gymnasts of all time. But he played the system what he should do, obviously. Alexei Nemov was showing that there's a future to the men's gymnastics, which is this really high caliber, especially in high bar skills. And so they created the open scoring to say, look, if you're going to step it up and come out with a routine that has like 6 E's, or a G, we'll make sure you're rewarded for it and not punished for it. And that's why they did the open scoring.
Now,
so, but
it works really well, but it doesn't work for the audience, because the audience doesn't understand. So you got to decide, who are you really selling here? Who's your customer? Do they understand? Like back when you had 10-0, that's easy. 10-0, woo, yeah, okay, I got that. Any idiot can figure that one out, but when you start getting to these decimal points and all this open scoring stuff, you do lose to people. So this is, if you don't want to lose the integrity of your sport, which I do not think you should, I keep it that way and just update it and try to get more picky with that sort of stuff. I agree. But then you need another version. Freestyle trampoline for us is just another version of all the kids that basically don't fit into that category for one reason or another. It doesn't matter whose fault it is. It's not anyone's fault, but just they don't fit there. So make another category for them. I saw parkour do the exact same problem, right? And what happens is that these guys, they lumped parkour into everything, but actually parkour is made of free running and parkour, which have slightly different definitions, right? So what happened is that when they said, oh, the FIG is buying it up, what they said is everyone has to now agree on one thing. Well, no, sorry. The best thing they should have done was say, no, this type of athlete is getting the deal with FIG. This type of athlete can do this instead, and this type of athlete does that. And we've done that already because I watched David Bell and these guys basically not really make this mistake. I don't think they did it intentionally. Just you don't know because it was new. But we said, okay, as soon as I watched that happen, I said, okay, then GT Games is the fun recreational side here for non-competitive athletes, more just hang out, have fun, family vibes. Freestyle Frenzy, which is title sponsored by Red Bull, that is you're here to compete, you're here to win, and this is for the show, this is for the crowd. The skills are all scripted. I tell them what to do, stuff like this, boom, 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 right? So I know exactly what's going to happen because I don't need someone getting wrecked with Red Bull all over the place. You're dead. You know what I mean? So we made two separate streams, and I think gymnastics needs to make they tried this free G, but that was a failure because they already lost to parkour. You can't catch up after. Sorry. Nice try. You need something else.
Yeah, it's scary. That's why people don't want to try, because they tried a few times. It just, maybe there just wasn't the right guys trying it. But yeah, I mean, there's ways to do it. There's ways. Maybe it's not necessarily, we're struggling just to keep our one type of program alive, which is competitive gymnastics, JO and elite level gymnastics. And I think there's ways to do it. First of all, going back to the scoring situation. Wait, before I ask that question, I have a question for you. Is that GT thing were you the one that jumped off that giant, what's it called? What's those big, huge crane things?
Yeah.
Crane. You did the quad flippus with the double twist. That was you?
Yeah.
That's insane, dude. You're nuts.
Well, the reason I did that was for the exact kind of thing we're talking about now. The first lesson I learned in business was, hey, Greg, what do you want to do with the trampoline? I'm like, well, I want to make it better. Like you said, I was you 10 years ago saying I want, I make trampoline great again, all this sort of stuff. I just saw a dying sport slowly, even though people pretend like it's not. I'm like, all right, good luck defending that one, But so I said, okay, and I need to make this better. I need to get out of there. I need to show and demonstrate the skills in a whole new context. So we said, look, why don't we do the exact same skills off a crane? I've done that skill that you saw off the crane on a trampoline, no problem. But all I did was change the environment and give it a completely new look, even though I was using the same strategy, the same technique and all that sort of stuff. So I didn't forget my core. This is how this kind of relates back to gymnastics. You don't forget your core, but you need to get it out there, something different. You need to figure out what the world wants to see. And that's all I did with that. And that's why we did it. And that gave us a launch that then we could build from.
Yeah, the dramatic presentation is what gets the attention for sure. That's amazing. Okay, so here's my idea, and it just came up right now while we're talking.
Okay.
So the problem is not, so if open scoring is working for judging wise, really evaluation wise, if it's really working to understand the competition, why don't we use it like other sports use it? Basketball has open scoring, football has open scoring, soccer has open scoring, meaning that there's no perfect score, there's just points, right? We get points. If we can have it, this is not that hard to do. If we have it, so you're watching gymnastics or tramp, right? The reason why an audience watches at the Olympics is just because it's awe-inspiring. Whoa, look how high that gymnast is flying. Look at how beautiful that skill was. But everything looks the same. They can't really tell the difference between Simone Biles and Ali Reisman. But Simone Biles, most decorated gymnast of all time. Why wasn't Ali Reisman? They don't know the difference. We know the difference because we know what types of skills she's doing. What if you had a little meter, okay? You had a little meter on the television, for example. And every time they know what she's doing, her routine, everyone knows what her routine is. And they add up the points as she's doing the routine, just like when you add up the points, when you put a basketball in the hoop. You see that point go up on the point meter. But watch the routine. There's a meter on the side. It goes boink, 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 like Sonic the Hedgehog. The numbers are just going up. Like, oh, that was a 5/10 bonus. That was 6/10 bonus, 7/10. You know, and you're constantly seeing the numbers rise. And at the end, all the start value numbers add up. And then after it shows the judge's deduction. And they're like, oh, but it turns out she had -20. You know what I'm saying? And then people get it. Like, oh, the points are right there for me to see. And then the deductions come after the judges tell us what was wrong with it.
I agree.
Saying, let's watch awesome gymnastics and here's the score. Okay. Nobody knows why.
It's like a measuring stick beside it. It's just an overlay. That's just, we have guys that can do that over videos and it just becomes an animation, right? And you just kind of know. You'd have to do it with live. The struggle would be that if there's discrepancies and this and that, so you would have to make it more of a dumbed down version. But yeah, you're basically, I think, bang on. I think if you just made it so that there's something that people don't know what 0.1 means. Hell, I don't even know what 0.1 means because if you actually look at the code, it doesn't actually have measurements for that stuff either, technically. You know what I mean? So you're already still not actually doing the thing. You're confusing everyone and not even accomplishing the goal. That's sad. First of all, you know, that's sad. This is an oversight from whoever made that stuff, you know, but why don't you look at this from a TV producer's perspective? They're the ones that know how to get the eyeballs. If you're a TV producer, what you need? Okay, I need an audience. I need the audience to know what's happening. You're bang on. If you had something where even if you had then the other people like on the side of the screen and it just had the top three. So it's kind of like chasing. When you're watching racing, they say, oh, you a plus or minus number. So the other sports have done versions of this for that exact reason.
You got to see, people got to completely understand it. And we can still keep the integrity of the way the sport is judged, the way the sport is composed.
Yeah.
And still keep the integrity, but if we can figure out how to display to the masses and just make, and that's something that could, stuff like that. I'm not saying that's the answer. I'm just saying stuff like that is what's going to make this sport great.
Okay. That's the type of thinking that you need, right? And that's where we need to start with that kind of thinking, because the problem is like these guys, oh, Greg, you're just showing all this crazy guys doing quad flips and stuff. Yeah, it's called marketing. You should learn it. Right. You know, there's a reason we do that. And there's a reason I don't show a kid do a nice, perfect back layout where he lands perfectly, because no one cares. The more people that can do something, the less people care. That's just printing money. That's basic economics. The more people in it that can do it, the less the value goes, right? So I'm looking at it and saying, what is going to grab the attention? And then what rules do I need to make behind the scenes to keep these kids safe? We've never had an injury at our events or any major injuries, a couple busted ankles and stuff like that, but no major injuries where everyone thinks everyone's going to die because they see our marketing. They don't realize that that's just marketing. You guys need to stop and think about what's happening behind the scenes here and the way we script the routines, the way we do the rules so that we know that they can't do this and that, so we can kind of, you know, make their behaviors a certain way. So you don't, they make this mistake by thinking that whatever it appears to be, that's what it is. And the funny part to me is, don't we say that to kids not to do that? Don't you tell kids, no, don't believe everything you see online? But when I look at these critics, all they do is say, well, because that's what it looks like, therefore everyone's dead. Well, no, because Red Bull doesn't sponsor dead people. Neither do the parents. Neither do I. Neither does anybody. You know what I mean? So if you're going to last this long and you just are so stupid that you think that what you see is what you get, then you need to go back to school. You need to go back to kindergarten. And do you remember that show? It wasn't a show. It was a commercial. They had this baby, the house hippo. I don't know if they had that in America. It was a little hippo, and it was like a cute little version of it, like a little puppy that they had it in the house. And they're like, well, don't believe everything you see, you know, and they had little commercials. That's the mistake that they're making fundamentally. The marketing image and the way you actually do it are two different things, and they should not be the same. If they are, well, this is how you get to gymnastics in the 21st century. This is how you got to that problem, by thinking they were the same. They're not the same. Fix your image, make your image awesome, pop out, tell stories about all of your great athletes, all the cool things that you can find. Like
certainly.
They're different. Yeah. It's very interesting.
Well, I have to go, my friend, but I had a great time talking with you.
Yes, you too. It's nice to see someone that has that business mind. I wish more gymnastics people did, because I think that would really help.
Yeah. Well, I'm just trying to do good things in the sport, man. I've realized now, like, I've always had these ideas of who I wanted to be when I grew up, and at this point, I realized my main calling is just to help the sport of gymnastics and try to make this the greatest sport the world has to offer, which I still believe strongly that gymnastics is the greatest sport. And we just need the rest of the world to see that. And so this is my new calling, and this is what I'll set to do, you know? So
I'm with you 100%, man. I'm there as well. I just have, I think, what appears to be different views on how to do it. But that's why I've gone and done my own thing just to prove to these guys. Adam Grant's a psychologist. He's been mentoring me on the side and basically said, just build it on your own. Screw these guys. Just fix it. Once they realize it works, then all of a sudden they're going to call you. And they're already doing that. So I think if I was you, do it on your own. Don't expect everyone to agree with you. Go make it work. Maybe if you're going to test your scoring system, do a content video with your Ninja Teens or with whatever. Do a little version of it and kind of at least start there. Don't just ask for people to agree with you. They won't until you're already successful.
That's a good idea. I should make a video of that. take a real a real time in history, like an Olympic event or something like that, and then do it differently.
Do some overlays. It's just overlays. You can get an animator from Fiverr to do that for you. It's easy.
We got a whole content creation, multimedia design team in-house.
Perfect. And you got to go. All right. I want to see that video then.
Done. You got it. It's coming up soon.
Great to talk to you.
Talk to you later.
Okay, bye.